And we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. And we continue our series of interviews with the candidates in the 6th Congressional District. Tom Price is now the HHS Secretary, working very hard on repealing Obamacare. So that leaves that district with a special election. 18 candidates, and again, our series continues this morning as we introduce and welcome Mr. David Abroms, a Republican in this race. Mr. Abroms, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Let's get right into it. Why did you feel the timing now? I've read some of the things on your website, and I've seen your 3 positions, top positions in your video, but why now to get involved and run for this open seat?
Sure. Well, I've been very interested in public policy and politics really my entire adult life. And I think it's really important that we have strong conservative leadership in Congress, independent-minded, that's willing to go up there and do what's right and help solve some of these problems. I tell you what, I think that we're at a point in this country where we can't even talk to each other. We can't even listen to each other. And as an entrepreneur, as a business person, every decision that I made, especially the important decision, all about listening to everyone that had something to say. And of course, ultimately, I made the decision, but we got to listen to each other first. And you know what? And then if there's an impasse, then that's what we have elections for. But as a conservative, I think we need strong, independent, conservative leadership.
Well, let me go with this. I've looked at your website and looked at your positions, and you're very. You say number one. You pick your number one thing in your video, and you say the debt and the deficit. And before you answer that, we have March 15th coming up. March 15th will be the debt ceiling. We'll have to revisit that. And many economists say no matter who was to become president of the United States, that at basically a $20 trillion debt, we would end up with $10 trillion increase to $30 trillion in 10 years, just if we stay with the status quo. My question to you, debt and deficit, if that's your number one thing, talk about what you do with the debt, what you do with the upcoming debt ceiling, and what does Mr. Abroms think we should do?
Absolutely. I appreciate you asking that. Well, and that goes back to what I was saying. The debt is such a, first off, it's such a important issue for us to tackle. We cannot do anything important as a country if we don't deal with our debt. We are going broke. And if we don't deal with our debt, we can't protect ourselves. We can't fund our military. We can't secure our border. If we don't find some fiscal sanity, we are going to go broke. So with that being said, I think that there's a number of things we can do. So I'm a business person, and I can tell you firsthand that I have seen the devastating effects that regulations have on small business. The EPA was the biggest challenge that I had, and my business was converting vehicles to run on a cleaner fuel. And my biggest challenge was the EPA. And the regulations were just completely silly. We need to reduce the regulatory burden. We need to stop all. That'll decrease our spending on bureaucracy. That'll allow business to flourish. And also we need to stop demonizing the rich. I get so sick of politicians that talk about blame. The millionaires and the billionaires fault, as we've heard in politics before. If we want people to be successful, we want people to make money, reduce the regulatory burden, reduce the size of government. We got to get our fiscal house under control, or else. I'm 33 years old. I plan on being here for a while. And people my age and younger, we want a country that's fiscally sound, so that we can have, so we can enjoy the same greatness of America that's come before us.
Well, that was the number one thing you put up there. You put 3 points, and the only reason I wanted to discuss that is because I can appreciate your answer, and I think everything you said is in the right direction to change the fiscal house and how we manage on a day-to-day, but the debt itself, getting it under control, you know, if President Trump was to get $1 trillion infrastructure bill, and he says he won't touch Social Security or Medicare, some of the entitlements, you know, it's just a wonder how exactly we're going to get this debt and turn this around. So that's
Sure.
why I pose that to you.
Well, so in terms of those issues, when President Obama passed the stimulus the first time, I was in the alternative fuels industry, and I saw that money go to waste. I mean, it was wasted. It was put into projects that were mothballed 6 months later. Almost $1 trillion, in my opinion, was not spent wisely, added to our debt, didn't help the economy. And so if we're talking about just a blanket $1 trillion infrastructure project, I think we need to look at that a lot more closely. It'd be very tough for me to support a proposal that would drive our debt even higher. And then in terms of Social Security and Medicare, you know, I'm not in favor of cutting benefits, but we're going to have to take a bipartisan look at this issue because it is a huge driver of our debt. And if that means we need to, you know, raise the caps a little bit so that the wealthy will pay a little bit more in payroll tax, or if that means that we need to do means testing, you know, I'm not saying that's you know, that'll solve the problem, but those are some things that need to be looked at because they are huge drivers of the debt. We need to honor our commitment to our seniors and to the American people. If we've made a commitment to have those programs available, we need to have them available, but we just need to have a bipartisan way to come together because this problem is so big. It's got to be done on a bipartisan basis. And it is so important that we cannot just let it. We cannot kick the can down the road any further.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me ask this: the 6th district obviously is replacing Tom Price, and let me ask you this: what? Donald Trump won the 6th district by 1.5%. He beat Hillary Clinton by 1.5%. The district has gone strong for Congressman Price several times, but as the presidential election goes with an opening here, how do you rate, or do you support the president in his first 6 weeks? Do you support the direction he's going in? Let's just talk about, put on the table, Obamacare. What are some of the things you support or maybe disagree with the president on if elected?
Sure. Well, I think the president's effort to reduce regulation is a big step in the right direction. I would take it even a step further. I think we don't need to reduce regulation just when we add, a new one. I think we need to completely take a look at the entire regulatory state. And there are some regulations that are so old and so antiquated that they need to be looked at. We need to have an honest debate about if they're really important or not. And I think a lot could be reduced in terms of the regulatory state. But I think that's a good direction that the president is taking. You brought up something that I'm a little bit uneasy about, which is a huge government spending program like the infrastructure program. In terms of Obamacare, I think that the president has said that he wants to repeal and replace, which I agree with. I think he is in lockstep with the Republican Congress. I know that the Congress has gotten a lot of flack for not having something immediately, but this is a big deal. I mean, this is important. This is people's health care. And so, if you ask me, I would rather take a little extra time and make sure that we get it right. This is people's lives. So I think people need to just take a deep breath. Everyone that's complaining about that we don't have something right away. We have Secretary Price in there who is just such a champion on this issue. We have a very talented and smart Republican Congress, and we have a president that is working hard to get this done. So I think we just need to be a little bit patient, and I do think we will be repealing and replacing Obamacare, and I'd be looking forward to being a part of that.
You know, Mr. Abroms, reading some articles online, you've made, there's 18 candidates, and you know, there's two or three that I say the media have surfaced at the top as far as name recognition. Did you make a personal investment in your campaign, or say that you would invest X amount of money into your campaign to get your message out? And why are you doing that, if so?
I did. So if I could give a little context, so I am a CPA by training. I started a business, as I said, converting vehicles to natural gas about 6 years ago. And it was a rough start, you know, like any business. Anyone that started a business knows this. You know, I had, when I hired my first employee, I had to move in with my cousins. I lived very inexpensively, but you know, over time we persisted, we fought. I never lost faith in the American dream. I never lost faith in myself. I never lost faith in God, and that carried me through some tough times. And I've been blessed, and so I've been fortunate enough to make enough money to where I could put $250,000 of my own money into this campaign. And to me, it was a no-brainer. I love this country. I think that we have too many problems. I think that people are not, our politicians aren't leading. We're not willing to stand on principle. So I thought it was important for me to make this decision to serve my country. And so I shut down my business. I invested in this campaign. That's how important this is to me. And we're really excited about it. I think with that money, with the fundraisers we have set up, we're going to get our message out there. You know, we still got some good time in this campaign. You know they say a week is a lifetime in politics, and we're looking forward to getting our message out there and being very competitive in this campaign.
Well, I've asked all the candidates thus far this question, and let me ask you this: you know, serving your country, and I do respect that, and we always thank candidates for their willingness to serve. But let's drill it down to the 6th congressional district. So the question of why you're running, put that in the frame for the 6th district. I mean, what would you, Congressman Abroms, do or feel that you need to do to represent the 6th district, or what their needs are in that district?
Sure. Well, I think you know, you brought up the point that President Trump carried the district by about a point. Congressman Price carried the district, if I'm correct, by about 15 points or so. And I think Congressman Price was such a champion on fiscal conservatism. You know, he really understood the challenges of the debt, what the implications of that were. I think that is extremely important to this district. I think people in the 6th district are smart. They know the problems that we have in this country. They want a representative that will stand on principle and fight for those problems, as Congressman Price did. And so I think getting our fiscal house in order so that we can pass a country off to the next generation that is better than we found it. You know, it's so interesting. If you ask people how they feel right now in polls, they'll say, you know, most people feel okay. You know, it's not super, but, you know, more than half people say they're financially okay. But people think we're heading in the wrong direction. For the past decade, people have thought we're heading in the wrong direction. And I think it's because our politics has not been working. People aren't listening. People aren't leading. And so I think people in the 6th district are really concerned about the future of America. They're concerned about our economic future. They're concerned about our national security, and that those issues are never going to be addressed unless we have strong, principled, conservative leaders representing us in Congress. And so that's what I plan to do, and that's how I plan to serve the people of the 6th district. And I look forward to you know, talking to as many voters as I can. I pledge to have weekly town hall meetings, and I want to hear what's on their mind. I want them to be a part of the process. This is a democracy. I want them to hold me, their representative, and their government accountable to them. So I want to listen to them. I want to work with them, and I want to be the best representative for the people of this district that I can make.
All right, just a couple more questions before we close.
Sure.
The president of the United States, Donald Trump, is I will say my words, a whirlwind within 5 weeks of activity. Let's talk about trade. He says he's open to free trade. He just wants fair trade. He wants a renegotiation with NAFTA. He has discussed a border tax with a border tax. He has been very aggressive where Mexico is concerned and the jobs going to Mexico. And he has pulled out of the TPP. So in general, can you address your vision or what you think about trade and the direction we should go in?
Sure. I'm a free trader. I believe in free trade. If there are certain aspects of some trade deals that make sense to take a closer look at, I think that's okay. But I would want to promote as much trade as we could. You know, Milton Friedman always used to say, countries that trade with each other don't go to war against each other. You know, in business, we work with vendors, we work with customers, and you know, the beautiful thing about business, at least in my experience, is that everyone is working together. You want to work with your vendors because you want to make sure they get you what you need on time. They want to work with you because they want to make sure that you pay them. You want to work with your customers because they're the lifeblood of your business. It's everyone working together. Even though it's you know, pretty much all of our vendors were domestic, were from the United States, but some of the raw materials that they used were imported. You know, and also something else about free trade that I think is very important for people to understand is that if we stifle free trade, if we make it more difficult and we reduce the trade between countries, the people that are going to hurt the worst are the least advantaged among us. Prices are going to go up, prices on clothing, prices on school supplies. If you go to Target or Walmart, everything is going to be more expensive. So the least advantaged among us are going to be paying a higher percentage of their disposable income for goods that they absolutely need in their daily lives. So any sort of, in my opinion, any sort of tax is really going to adversely affect the poor more than anyone else. Now that being said, like I said, there's and I think President Trump, he talks about making deals, being a deal maker. So if this is the beginning of a negotiation and there's a greater plan to try to get countries to work with us on some aspects of trade deals, then that's fine, and that very well may be what's happening. But I can tell you, as a member of Congress, I would not be in favor of instituting tariffs.
Well, let me ask some direct, pointed questions here, and please, I'm not trying to make Donald Trump the standard bearer, but when you're president of the United States, you're the head of your party, and so on. So he's not the standard bearer for all that every issue that we have, but he says, and let me ask you, that we've gotten into these major group trade deals, NAFTA and the TPP and all of these major group deals. Would you be in favor, as the president says, on more individual deals and fair trade? I mean, myself, I'm going to take the man at his word. He says he likes fair trade deals, but he doesn't like these big group packages where the American people. So do you sign on to his America First, everything he does, and the trade deals he'd rather do with individual countries, not to discuss tariffs?
Well, that's President Trump's prerogative. He did win the election, and if that's how he would like to negotiate trade deals, then that's what elections are for. In terms of the TPP, if you look at what's happened since the United States has pulled out of it, China now has stepped in and they're negotiating a trade agreements with their neighbors, and it's really increasing their economic power in the region. So that's a consequence of us, retreating from TPP. Generally, in history, presidents coming in have generally honored trade deals that previous presidents were working on. But if he wants to do bilateral agreements instead of multilateral agreements, then I think that's okay. It's a big world. I think doing a lot of bilateral agreements can be a little bit more complex and a little bit more time consuming, and I think it'll reduce our ability to really be as strong of a economic superpower. But I think as long as we are still trading, as long as we are still talking to these countries, if that's the direction that he wants to go, he won the election. That's his prerogative, and so as long as we're still trading, then I think that's the most important thing.
All right, Mr. Abroms, two more questions before we leave today. And immigration, and I think we're all following the immigration and the president's plan that he's putting forth. So would you do me a favor, just take it from the southern border wall that he proposes that is being started on to, he said he's always says we're getting the bad ones out, we're getting the bad ones out. So do you follow parallel his view on immigration and what we need to do with illegal immigration? And could you just share your position?
Sure, I'll be glad to. So I think I think President Trump has kind of as we've seen from the campaign as he's become president and learned more about what's involved in immigration, I think where his position stands today, I'm much more in line with, which is that in terms of protecting the border, we absolutely need to secure the border. But he's even said recently that it's not going to be a wall across the entire border. There'll be a wall in some areas. Some areas we'll need more drones or more people or more technology, and a fence can get by, maybe two fences. So it's a little bit more nuanced than just a wall across the border, and even President Trump has said that. And then in terms of the illegal immigrants that are here, he has said that the number one priority is to deport the criminal illegal aliens, which I completely agree with. And then as he and as the Republican Congress has said, let's prove to the American people that we can secure the border and that we can deport the criminal illegal aliens. And then after that, after we've proven that we can do that, then I think we have a conversation with the American people about what to do with the non-criminal illegal aliens that are here. I will say this, I am absolutely not in favor of citizenship. I think that if someone, a non-criminal illegal alien, whatever kind of arrangement we work out, and again, this is where we need strong leadership and good ideas to make the right decision. But I'm not in favor of citizenship. If someone wants to be a citizen of this country, they need to do it the right way. They need to get in the back of the line, and we need to have a policy as a country that we're going to take in people that is going to be best for the United States of America and best for American citizens. And so I think that's kind of the sequence of events. That to me, it seems like we're all on the same page. It seems like President Trump has gotten there. It seems like the Republican Congress is behind that for the most part, and that is where, and that's what I believe as well.
What are your biggest fears in foreign policy? And let me put it like this, and you could frame this up, and we'll end with this today. President Trump is very adamant, and he's very clear. He's a nationalist. He's America first. If it's good for America, that'll be first. All of the decisions worldwide will be made with Americans' best interest first. And those are a lot of his, not quotes, but I think those are his words. And he's a strong nationalist, and he's very clear he's not a globalist, but he understands we have to be within the the world. What are your concerns, if you have any, or what is your view on foreign policy, and how does may parallel with the president's or not?
Right. So I don't consider myself a nationalist. I think I don't consider myself a nationalist. I'm a conservative. I'm a constitutionalist. I think that America retreating from the world is a bad idea. If we retreat, then someone else will step in to take power, and it probably won't be someone that can exercise the strong soft power that the United States has, that has led to 70 years of global peace. So I think we have to be engaged. I think one of the biggest problems we have in the world today stems from the United States being weak and ineffective, and making threats that we were not being able to that we were not willing to follow up on. And I am specifically talking about President Obama and the red line in Syria. He just walked away from that, and now we have a crisis of epic proportions where we have civilians being bombed. We have a migrant crisis that is destabilizing Europe. And so if the United States took some actions when members of Congress were calling for action, I think that we would be in a much better shape today. And so and that doesn't mean boots on the ground. That doesn't mean regime change. It doesn't mean state building. I think we could have created safe zones. We could have helped the people that were fleeing a civil war find safety in that part of the world, and I think that would have helped with a lot of problems that we have. I think Russian aggression is serious. I think it's a problem. I think they're trying to undermine the Western world and Western democracy. I think it needs to be addressed. I think we need to figure out what's going on, So I believe in what Theodore Roosevelt said: walk softly and carry a big stick. I want to get involved in everyone's problems, but that said, we want everyone to know that we are willing to use whatever means necessary to make sure that the world stays peaceful, because chaos can ensue rather quickly. Things can get out of control rather quickly. And let's not take for granted the fact that we've had 70 years of relative peace, that we haven't had a major world war in 70 years. And that's been in a large part due to American leadership and us partners with Western democracies and other places around the world. And so I think it's important to maintain those friendships. It's important to maintain those alliances. And I think the United States is really the only country that can lead. And if we don't, I really fear for what could happen.
All right, Mr. Abrams, we appreciate you being on with us this morning. Let me ask you, I know, has there been any plans for, I know there's 18 candidates, that's a lot, but has there been any plans for any forums or debates or anything like that you're aware of?
I believe so. There is a forum this Sunday.
But you're not aware of any true debates been planned?
I think I think there will be some debates. I think people are still working out the details of it. I've not been informed of anything officially.
Well, forums really don't give you the opportunity to engage with the other challengers. Really, a true debate does. And I was just wondering if a true debate, what I call a true debate, has been announced or scheduled.
Not to my knowledge, but I have spoken to people that are working on setting up debates. So I'm confident that there will be, and I'm willing to be involved in any sort of debate that's set up. I would love to debate, share ideas, come up with good solutions, put our case to the people of the 6th District. You know, I'm very, very passionate in what I believe in. I'd be happy to.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm going to have to run. I have moderated several debates, but I will only moderate what we call a true debate. And I've done several, and boy, wouldn't I love to get an opportunity at 18 candidates for what I call a true debate. And I don't care if it's 3 or 4 hours long. We'll do it. Mr. Abrams, I thank you very much. And first of all, for FetcherNews.com, FYNTV.com, our only goal is to get the most information for voters. We want to thank you for your willingness to serve. We tell all candidates that, and we wish you well. And we will probably see you at one of the forums or one of the events you're having here soon. We'll bump into you there, and we'll hopefully have you back on the show before Election Day.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. That was David Abrams. He is the, David Abrams, Republican, 18 candidates in that 6th Congressional District running to replace Tom Price. Mr. Abrams gave us a lot of information this morning. We're going to continue our interview series, and when we get done with that, we'll break down some of the candidates about a week before the election and put up some of the things that we feel we have learned here. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office. North Georgia's only live online morning show. Take us to break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up.